Hello everyone, my name is Hashi Sakib and today we're gonna discuss about UK's critical national infrastructure. So there are 13 sectors that UK designates as the critical national infrastructure. One of them is communication. So communication is the only one that nearly all the other coordinate through. But communication is not a single network. It is five interdependent subnodes wired together so tightly that even one's failure can affect the others very critically. So this study maps dependencies inside the sector and follows two real UK failures through them. Let's talk about the five subnodes. So the National Protective Security Authority breaks the communication sector into five subnodes, which are fixed telecommunication, the copper, which includes the copper and full fiber access network, core exchanges, and the platform that carries every 999 call. Second one is the mobile network, which is run by four national mobile network operators. Then we have internet and data infrastructure, which includes data centers, internet exchange points, and subsea cables that land UK international traffic. Then we have broadcast, which is the terrestrial television and radio transmission state. And lastly, we have post, which is the physical logistic layer. So, on paper, these are separate services, but in practice, they are wired together by physical, cyber, geographic, and logical dependencies. Sorry. Mobile masts backhaul their traffic over fixed fiber, so that fixed telecommunication connects to mobile networks, and then fixed fiber. Then digital landmines are now internet services. So the fixed subnode depends on the data infrastructure that once depended on it. Also, broadcast distribution relies on fixed links and data centers. So now broadcast is connected to all of them too. And POS tracks every parcel through mobile devices and cloud platforms. And every one of the five terminates on a dependency that sits outside the sector entirely. These are the all sectors and wait, sorry. Yep. Sorry, it's taking a lot of time. I don't know what's happening. If you go, so this is the diagram of all the five subnodes and how they're connected to each other. You can see the main, this is the external power. Basically, this is not subnode, but you can say it's a dependency that every five subnodes depend on, which is power. Obviously, everything needs power. Even electricity is power, basically. So first, let's look towards fixed telecoms. So these are the copper and full fiber access networks, which are core exchanges and the platform that carries every 999 call. Then we have internet and data. So data centers, internet exchange points, and the subsea cables that land the UK's international traffic, and every other subnode runs on it. You can see it depends on all the other four subnodes, and it is depended on by all the others four subnodes. Then we have broadcast, which only depends on two things: internet, data, fixed telecom, and obviously power. But it is depended on by only one, which is government emergency public messaging, like all the 999 calls. So we can say fixed telecom is dependent on this. Then if we see post, it depends on internet data, mobile network, and obviously power. And it's dependent on by any sector that needs physical delivery. Then lastly, we have mobile networks, which depends on fixed telecoms, internet and data, and external power. But is depended upon by directly depended upon by post and indirectly emergency services, a network, and the public's D402 999 because it needs mobile network to perform a call, obviously. Now I think the best thing is we look at our case study one. So this is my case study one. The topic I gave it is the night the mass went dark. The night the mass went dark. Basically, the night failure happens. So this study is named Storm Irwin. So after Storm Irwin, the Electronic Communications Resilience and Response Group, the industry government body that owns the National Emergency Plan for Telecommunication, produced its own post-incident case study of what happened to the sector. Its central finding was blunt, but recovery was protracted because of the volume and scale of power outages hitting communication providers and networks, uh, exposing the depth of interdependence between the power and communication sectors. You can see the properties. 1 million properties were left without power. Three fatalities across the whole UK. 1,500 plus core network sites were running on backup generation, and 600% increase in dangerous damage reports from public. So the 3-hour warning. Storm Evan crossed the UK on 26 and 27 November 2021 and brought the most significant and widespread windstorm impacts for several years. The Met Office had issued yellow wind warnings 3 days ahead and amber warnings the day before, but the red warning came only on the morning of the 26th, giving roughly 3 hours of lead time for the first areas at high risk. Air was the first red warning from wind since Storm Gertrude in January 2016. The two sections. The red level impacts began at around 3 p.m. in Aberdeenshire, then swept south through northern England, Cumbria, and Northumbria, down the west of the country, across most of Wales, and into the southwest. The storm killed 3 people and left almost 1 million properties without power and with outage for over thousands and millions people in northern England. Still continuing beyond 6 December, more than a week after the storm. Fixed line, mobile, and broadcast infrastructure were all hit with poles, cables, and mass damage or disrupt. The short notice mattered for the communication sector specifically because the warning did not give significant advance indication of where the storm would strike hardest. When delayed the mobilization of suppliers such as mobile generators, queues before the event. The core held, the edge did not. This means that basically the ECRRG case study draws a sharp line between the core of the fixed network and its edge. The core stayed up, which means a backup generator cut in automatically at more than 1,500 sites, each carrying enough fuel for up to 5 days of operation. The edge the edge collapsed. This is where we explain the edge did not. Most customers who lost power could not longer run their home routers, so their internet access died even where the physical line into the property was untouched or had already been repaired. Those same customers then struggled to report faults to their providers at all. Let's go deeply into this. So, physical damage compounded the problem. Both copper and fiber overhead networks were hit, and the report notes that damage to overhead fiber tends to take out the whole communities at once rather than single homes. The volume of dangerous damage reports from the public was the highest ever recorded, up 600% against the target of marketing, making each report safe within 3 hours. Recovery queues faced extreme conditions, roads blocked by debris, multiple bridges closures, and in some cases, specialist rock drilling equipment needed to replace poles set into rocks. All of it stretched recovery times well beyond the usual. The sector's own lessons from the fixed line experience, including scaling up incident management for fiber to the premises, since Irvine was the first major incident with large FTTP volumes, becoming more proactive at identifying which fault in an area were actually power related and improving escalations and communication with strategic coordination group, central government and local MPs, basically. Let's move towards batteries built for hours and outage measured for days. This basically means the UK backup systems, which are batteries, were built for hours, but the outage that was caused by the storm was lasting days. Thousands of mobile cell sites were disrupted by the power outages, and all four mobile network operators were affected simultaneously. Battery backup at key sites did what it was designed for, and then they ran out. So, all the batteries, all the backups were performing as they were designed for, as the purpose they were built for. But because the outage lasted days, the batteries quickly ran out. Let's go deeper into this. The fallback to batteries was mobile generators towed to site, and this is where the case study is most revealing. Deployment was hampered by the weather itself, by blocked access and limited pool of generators, units, and suppliers, which was worse than estimated. But power restoration time provided by the energy side kept changing. Right? Kept changing, which made it nearly impossible to prioritize which mass to save. A site expected back on main in 2 hours does not justify a generator until the estimate slips to 2 days. Temporary cell site deployments did prove effective at restoring coverage to isolate communities, but the sheer volume of simultaneous network impact overwhelmed the initial recovery efforts. Like mentioned in the topic, backup batteries built for hours and outage measured in days. The mobile lessons in the report center on the interdependency itself is once operational points of contact were established with the electricity distribution operators, mobile operators could not tell them exactly which location needed power restored to bring coverage back. And a trained emergency response team working jointly with electricity crew sped the communication link which where signal had been lost. The report also commits the sector to exploring greater power resilience at mass sites, power monitoring telemetry, additional battery backup, and better cooperation between all four operators on generator deployments so that coverage is maximized across network rather than per 12 actions and 4 relationship. This is an action plan, the 12 action that could have been taken or could be taken in the next emergency. So within the ECRRG, review incident management processes, including the activation thresholds for the National Emergency Alert for telecommunications and the industry daily information exchange. Number two, improve information sharing between members during fast moving incidents. Number three, developing a common incident reporting template that works for both fixed and mobile providers. This was the number one relation. Number two, across the telecommunication sectors. channel national incident representations through ECRRG. They could have taken a more strategic approach to cooperation with the Category 1 and 2 emergency responders. They could have used the vulnerable customer priority restorations processes and could have communicate to customers in advance what providers can and cannot do. Let's move to with the power sector. They should build closer routine cooperation with the energy network body and improve cross-sector communication through any incident of similar scale, covering escalation, interdependencies, community support, resources prioritizing, and restoration sequences. Lastly, with government of Ofcom. They should clarify what information the sector is expected to provide nationally and locally during incidents, explore the cause of challenges of making the mobile network more resilient to power outages. They should publish the review itself, which is why this case study exists in the public domain. This was my first case study. Let's go back and let's look at a similar case study. The hours without 999. So this case study basically explains what it was like without 999. So after the outage, the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology and the Cabinet Office produced the official post-incident reviewing, drawing evidence from BT, Ofcom, all four emergency authorities, government departments and the devolved administrations. It describes the first nationwide loss of the 999 service in over 86 years of operation. So 9,641 unique callers were unable to access 999 in that time. 35 million calls were made to 999 in typical years. 144 emergency control rooms hit by the knock on, and 17.5 million pounds penalty later imposed on BT by Ofcom. One platform between the public and 113 emergency bodies. The public emergency call service reached on 999 or 112 is the primary way the UK population seeks help in an emergency. In 2022, the public made 35 million calls to it, 53% for an ambulance, 44% for police, and 3% for fire and rescue, and under 1% for the Coast Guard. Every one of those calls passes through the same three strategies. The caller's on communication provider, fixed or mobile, doesn't matter, transfer the call free of charge to BT's 999 platform. A trained BT call handler filter out roughly 30% of traffic as repeats, misdials, or nuisance calls, and automatically captures the caller's location and number. The handler then transfers the caller with the data to the nearest appropriate control room. On the far side of BT's platform sit 113 separate emergency bodies, including 45 territorial police forces, 49 fire and rescue authorities, and 14 ambulances trusts. Operation 144 control rooms across the UK. Governance is spread across the Home Office, the Department of Health and Social Care, the Department of Transport, DSIT, and the devolved administrations, with the Cabinet Office coordinating to national resilience. Disruption, denial, and delay. These are the three common points. The review divides the incident into three phases of escalation severity, driven by a complex software issue in a caching mechanism within BT's 999 call handling platform, a fault that had never appeared in BT's continuous testing. Let's look at disruption. The initial fault causes a significant proportion of 999 calls to disconnect, with some callers cut off at the exact moment of transfer from the BT handler to the emergency control room. BT's call handling agents report the cut-offs at 6:24, and the incident is formally raised at 7:02. And by 7:25, BT decides to move all 999 call traffic to the backup system. These timelines are of the day of the storm. Denial, the most serious period. The procedure to activate the backup system fails, largely because of its complexity, and during this window. Every caller dialing 999 anywhere in the UK fails to connect to the platform at all, like it was mentioned in the first case study, Storm Avon, about the Storm Avon. BT recognizes the fail transferred and at 7:47 notifies the emergency authorities by email at 8:01 and classifies the event as serious incident at 8:20. Let's look at the delay now. The backup system finally takes the traffic, but it reduces functionality. It cannot pass location data automatically, so control room operators must ask each caller where they are. Lightning every call while queues of repeated attempts build. Ofcom is notified by phone at 9:05 and DSIT by email at 9:45. Calls began migrating back to the primary platform when it was fixed at 14:52. Across the incident, 9,641 unique callers were able to access the emergency services, and many more were delayed or disrupted. BT called every identified caller back and past the 243 it could not reach to the police to check on. Ofcom's parallel investigation counted the same event as nearly 14,000 unsuccessful call attempts from 12,392 different callers. No confirmed cases of serious harm were identified, which is good, by the emergency authorities. So the review is clear that the potential harm of a nationwide 9 loss is unacceptable. The knock-off effects ran through all 144 control rooms during disruption. Staff phoned every cut-off caller back, growing the queues. During denial, call volume suddenly dropped, causing considerable alarm during delay. Manual location handling slowed every call for the rest of the day. Notification, coordination, and communication. These are three other sectors. The review's findings on the response fall under three headings, and all three describe the same underlying problem, which is a system of many partners with no single set of cross-system procedure for an incident of this type. Notifications was slow. The gap between the fault appearing at 6:24 and BT emailing the emergency authorities at 8:01 was too long of an incident of this severity, and government actually detected apparent problems with 999 from third parties before BT's formal notification arrived. BT accepted it. It should have communicated more clearly and promptly with the emergency services and government. Coordination. It lacked a dedicated structure. So the cabinet office convened three coordination calls during the day, enabling collective decisions such as the choice not to issue a nationwide emergency alert, but the standing arrangement could have been more effective and were sometimes hampered by out-of-date situational reporting. The existing national emergency alert for telecommunications is well tested for general telecoms emergencies, but the incident showed 999 needs its own dedicated response arrangement covering BT, the NHS police, fire, the SCARS, and government and the devolved administration together. Public communication was inconsistent. There was no central communications plan for 999 outage. So until a government statement at around 15:45, the public had heard only a patchwork of regional advice and press reporting. Some of that advice, such as using 101 and 111 as an alternative, does not even apply across the whole UK. And fire rescue and Coast Guard have no alternative public contact route at all if 999 is down, obviously. What changed afterwards? These are again six things that should have been six recommendations that could be done. They should have strengthened the platform and critically its backup. BT should strengthen the 999 platform and critically the backup system and its activation procedure, which failed on the day largely because of its complexity and has since been simplified with the backup's limited functionality including location data being urgently improved. BT applied a temporary fix on the day itself and a permanent software configuration fix by 29 August 2023. And the software's vendor confirmed no other UK customer uses the effective product. Recommendation 2. Keep continuity plans matched to the full range of risk. All emergency authorities and BT to keep risk management and business continuity plans matched to the full range of risk, sharing cross-cutting insights across the whole 999 system and drawing on NCSC and NPSA as technical authorities. A nationwide 999 strategic incident protocol. A nationwide 999 strategic incident protocol agreed by all partners is July 2023, establishing a formal notification procedure with defined context, a forum that can convene at peace and aligned nationwide public messaging tested successfully and to be exercised regularly. Recommendation 4. Clarify responsibilities across the end-to-end system. The Cabinet offers to clarify responsibilities and accountability across the entire end-to-end system. Pre-agreed public advice for 999 disruption, cross-government deployment development of pre-agreed public advice for a range of 999 disruption scenarios applicable across the whole UK, and a full system exercise. A full cross-system exercise to test the new framework, the clarified responsibilities, and the public advice against a range of disruption. These were my case studies. Let's move back uh, to our site. So let's look at the two real failures and one subnode web. Interdependency is easiest to see when it breaks. The subnode web above has been tested twice in recent UK history. Once from the outside when the sectors shared external dependency on power failed, and once from the inside when a single platform in the fixed subnode failed on its own. Both are documented in official reviews, obviously. Each entry is the timeline below is not a separate disaster. Each is the previous one arriving from the next subnode. These are the timelines. The external dependency fails. So the shared dependency failed. So shared dependency failed. Storm event brings severe northerly winds across northern England and Scotland. Just over 1 million customers lose electrically and around 4,000 homes remaining without power. I think we have already done this. So the master exhaust for the landing safety set and net has gone digital. The responders lose their network. And the other case study too, the single subnode platform fails. One platform stumbles. Every route converges on the fault. The backup could not hold, and the state responds. This is basically the whole timeline of the case studies we did. On the left is the storm event case study. This is the whole timeline on what happened, when happened, and on the right is the subnode platform fails. You can come on this website and read it in full. The state level machinery behind these sectors, because no single operator owns all five subnodes. Protection is organized at state level through the framework set out in the UK Government Resilience Framework. There are four bodies which matters most to communication: DSIT and Ofcom, NCSC, NPSA, and Cabinet Office. DSIT and Ofcom are the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, is the lead government department of the sector, and Ofcom is the regulator across fixed, mobile, broadcast, and POS. NCSC is the National Cybersecurity Center in the UK, technical authority for cyber threats to sector, protecting core networks, signaling systems, and data infrastructure for ransomware and state actors. NBCSA is the National Protective Security Authority, which advises operators across all five subnodes on physical, personal, and people security, from exchanging buildings and data centers to subsea cable landing stations and transmitter sites. And lastly, the Cabinet Office. It owns the National Risk Register, which lists telecommunication failure among the country's most significant risk and coordinates national response to COBR when a communication failure cascades beyond the sector as it did during the storm era. This is the layer protection because one single barrier failed. Physical parameters, access control, and hostile vehicle mitigation at exchanges, mass sites, data centers, transmitters, stations, and subsea cable stations. This is the physical layer. And the personal layer, it includes vetting, insider, threat programs, and security culture across the operation of all five subnodes, because trusted access is the shortest route past a perimeter. That's the second layer. This is the third layer, which is cyber. It is separation from IT, from the core network and operation systems, and monitoring of the signaling and managing platform that routes the nation's call and data. And lastly, the fourth layer, procedural. Exercising incident response, power backup standards for mass sites, and tested disaster recovery for calling, handling the layer whose absence turned a single platform form into a national 999 outage. And that was about it for this site. These are all my references for everyone to know. These are all the official investigation and reviews references. These are the state framework and authority references. These are all governmental references. These are technical research references. These are the two case studies references. Thank you, everyone.